then they listen to you, and then they pretend it was their idea. something along those lines. But game changers will always be laughed at and ridiculed, and we can go back through history, and some of them were even put to death for their ideas. If we go back and if we look at, we talk about being creative. Leonardo da Vinci, who drew pictures of a helicopter hundreds of years before they ever came through. Now, he must have been laughed, ridiculed, something chronic for coming up with that idea at that time. Whereas now, learning to fly helicopters on my bucket list. It's just totally different, and things are very much for our time. And I think one of the beautiful things that I'm seeing is, as we're shifting so much, both as leaders and as a collective community, is that we are more open to change. We are more open to leaders who are willing to step outside the box, as long as those leaders have faith in where they're going. There's nothing worse than trying to follow a leader who says, oh yeah, this is a great idea, but really doubts whether it can be achieved. But if you have a leader who has a strong vision and doesn't necessarily need to know how they go there, but to have that faith that they're going to get there, people will follow them. So we will always have the creatives. But it's important, I think, for us as leaders, is to remember that when somebody else is leading outside the box, that we support them.
Okay. Henrik.
Yeah, I was actually just wanted to say that it's more like not just being a leader, it's more like a visionary, because breaking the rules and thinking outside the box is actually that you could put it in this way. Is there any box? Or is that just the imagination that we create for it, ourselves? And in worst case, our parents and ancestors and everybody else who creates the box, that you are not good enough, or you just have to do this. You go to school, you get good grades, you get a good job, you work your ass off for 45, 50 years, so you maybe get a pension. If your country does everything, corrupt politics does their job, you probably will get a pension. That's if you talk about that box, or any kind of box that is created inside your mind, because as I see it, there is no box. Or the only limitation between your ears. And rules, yeah, a visionary breaks in kind of way rules, but as long as you don't break a law or you don't hurt people, I just see it like not really breaking the rules, just being a visionary. For example, I could give a good example, because this world is not good at adopting new things. It doesn't matter. For example, when the first car came, I don't know how many of you know that UK was struggling hard to try to regulate a car, because they didn't want cars on the roads. They wanted to be horse and carriages. So they made a law that for you able to drive a car, it can only go 5 miles an hour. There has to be a driver, a mechanic, and a third warner that walks in front of the car with a red flag, warning all the people that car is coming. They tried to. Today, that red flag, and that's what they're trying to regulate all the countries, is cryptocurrencies. Because that's when people get the power and take it away from bankers, and they take away from all the corrupt people. Because one of the things that cryptocurrency is going to give us is less corruption, and of course blockchain is open, anybody can see it. Then money laundering and tax havens, they are soon going to be gone. So that's why so many government, banks, powerful people are trying to work against it. So I wouldn't say that's breaking rules. I say that's to being visionary, and something that eventually is coming. So I only say, like I said, I don't see there is any box. I just see your mind is your only limitation. And as long as you don't break laws or hurt people, just go for it.
Okay. Thank you, Henrik. But Ron, I see your hand raised. Ron, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Ron.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you. Go ahead, Ron.
Okay. But for me, I see there's two different types of leaders. The Richard Branson type of leader and a person that runs a country. And the difference, what I'm saying is Richard Branson is a person that will initiate an idea. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you?
That's
okay.
better.
All right, it's probably my mic. I'll say there's two different types of leaders. A person like Richard Branson or a president that runs a country. And the reason why I use Richard Branson is because he uses initiatives of other people because he doesn't know how to say no. He'll always say yes. And he will find a solution with his team to make something happen. The other leader, which a lot of countries is running presidents, and I've figured this one out, and I was listening to Outwitting the Devil, is creating propaganda for them to follow them, to make them powerful. Because they want to use that, as Hendrik said, they don't want cryptocurrency to work. As a Federal Reserve, doesn't belong to government, it belongs to individuals, which uses government as a pawn to make their business work. So if you look at the Federal Reserves, who controls the banks, they don't like the cryptocurrencies. So they use propaganda at the end of the day for changing people's lives. So the Richard Bransons will always be the 2% that will grow the economy. The 98% will follow the leaders in propaganda, will never get off where they started. And that's where I see the two different people that can be good leaders, or you can follow propaganda. The choice is yours.
Okay. So I see you, Vicky. You've raised your hand. Before we go on, though, we have some people that have just joined. I want to say thank you, Ron. I see you're saying that we have two different types of leaders, some that are innovative and thinking outside the box, others that are more traditional. While we're on the call, I'd like to remind everyone that this is an open call. So while I'd like you to be introspective, please share only as much as you'd want the world to be able to hear about your personal content. And then also, I'd like to remind you guys that a lot of people are on the call and everyone would like to have an opportunity to share, or we'd like to give everyone an opportunity to share. So please keep your comments within, appropriate guidelines. All right, so first Vicky, and then I see Lisa.
Just very quickly, Arlene, I just realized that we're not streaming live to the NG group.
Okay.
If you want to make me co-host, I might be able to do it, but I can't do it until I'm co-host.
And how do I do that?
Go to participants.
Okay. Hold on, I'll see if I can work that out while we're having Vicky talk. Yeah, sure. So Vicky, you go on and I'll do that behind the scenes.
Sure. I didn't have my hand up, but I'll talk. I probably just put it up while I was putting chat. That's fine. I'll gladly speak though.
That's fine.
So I had put in the chat, like I was picking up on what Ron was saying, that because to me, presidents and prime ministers and people who are in that role, dictators that lead, in quote, countries, aren't really leading because they don't make the decisions. They have people around them that are telling them what to do. So I would rather be Richard Branson any day over being president or prime minister of a country, personally. I also just kind of believe with leaders that I think most of us, everybody I think on this call, to me is a visionary. Like we all think ahead. We all, like whatever we're putting out there, we're planning for the future. It's not just now. We have ideas of how to make things better going forward. And I think that's, to me, is what a leader should be. And I know it's actually also what I teach my kids, because they're the younger generations and I want them to kind of step in and pick up wherever we all lead off, right? And I don't want them to lead the same way that we've been led probably most of our lives. So that's just what I wanted to say. Thanks.
Awesome, awesome. So you
Hey
are
everybody, I just wanted to say a little something here. I just wanted to pop in and just wanted to apologize to all of you guys, because I thought I had edited the Zoom link on the actual on the announcement, but I realized that it hadn't. So I showed up just to make sure that you guys were all made it here, and I know that Arlene adjusted really well. And this is just a great learning opportunity to learn how the world is perfectly imperfect, and how it's when all of us are united, even when things don't go well, we can still make it work. And so I want to basically build up Arlene for having to facilitate while things aren't going perfect. And I want to thank all of you guys for showing up and supporting her. And so I just wanted to pop in and say that I've got to continue. I'm purging at home right now, so I just wanted to come in and say that I'm glad that everybody was here, and have an awesome day. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you. Much love. You are the best. Okay, who is gonna continue next? Can you guys hear me?
I think Henrik had his hand up. Oh.
Yeah, I was just wanted to go back to a discussion we had like a couple of weeks ago. And one point I've been really using in coaching and one-on-one coaching for past months. So just as a reminder, so I've been talking a lot that leaders are more like influencers, not a leader with a title in some corporation or something like that. A real leader, especially in this world that's forming right now, that people are isolated, then the real influencers are the leaders. And we see how much people can influence just through internet, just through all the social media channels. And YouTubers are getting like tens of thousands, if not 100,000 followers. And just realizing that in this situation, people just need influencers. Even in, you talk about personal development, you talk about anything. In these times, people need these real leaders, because real leaders are not these corporate types with a fancy title and a rental BMW that first gonna be fired when everything goes south. And the CEO is usually the one in the big corporation that knows the least what's going on in the company. The cleaner knows more what's going on in the whole company and all the stages than the CEO. And I've been talking about the street cleaner having more influence on people than a CEO. And both of them are going to be buried next to each other. And if that company goes south, for example, the CEO gets stripped from his title, then he doesn't have the influence, because he usually have the influence with his title. But when you influence people without a title and you forget all that, then you're going to be a much bigger leader than anybody with any kind of title.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying, and I think that you're saying in line with what Vicky said, and also what Ron said, and also what Lisa said, that some of these innovative leaders are the people who are doing innovative things, and not just the person that may have the title and may be working within those confines. So we were saying like Mark Zuckerberg, like Indra, Nuyi, all of these people are innovative. So let's bring it back to us right here. We're all leaders within our respective arenas. We're all doing, endeavoring to make progress and influence others to move forward. So since we pretty much are on the same path in terms of agreeing that innovation is essential, what are some things that you're doing within your organization to think outside the box, to move beyond those borders. And as Henrik said, there are no borders. So how are you ensuring that you're being innovative in your organization?
So Matthew and Ron have their hands up in case you can't see them, Arlene.
No.
I don't know what, I can see you looking at your screen, so that's why.
Okay, Matthew.
Sorry.
Thank you. Hi, Matthew. Go ahead.
It's all good. Well, I was going to bring it back for a second, and then I'll come right back to that. I promise. As we were talking, I was also thinking about, because I'm family first. Okay, I stay at my house. I take care of the kids and do that kind of stuff. And as that kind of leader within our own homes, I want my kids to also learn that it's okay to think bigger than what's even in existence. So like one of my goals more recently is to be able to bring my wife on a date around the moon, on a trip around the moon. I did this a while ago, so no one believed that I would be able to achieve it. And yet here we are. Now they're making a bus through Tesla or whatever and SpaceX, and they're going to be traveling. So I see within 5 or 10 years, that's a complete possibility now. Did I know that then when I wrote that down? No. But I want them to understand that by not limiting themselves, they're going to be able to grow in whichever direction they want to grow. And that in turn goes to that innovation then with how we're dealing with our organizations through authentic relationships. I think that's more inspiring and up to date than anything now, because we don't do that enough. Companies don't care about a lot of their employees, from what I've seen and experienced myself. I've never done great with that, but I'm great when I'm one-on-one with people and when I'm creating these relationships. And I think that in itself is the innovation.
Matthew. That is exactly what we're doing here today, forming relationships and working together. So that is an awesome way, I believe, of us being innovative and of us changing the paradigm of some of those larger unfriendly corporations that we've held in the past. And somebody else, who was the next person that wanted to speak?
Ron,
Me,
Okay, Ron, go ahead.
Arlene, here's a question. Since COVID, we have to think differently. How many occupations is not going to exist in a year or two's time? If you look at degrees, in South Africa, I'm sitting with 100 attorneys in my town that hasn't got jobs. I'm sitting with chartered accountants. But we as parents are pushing our kids into some form of degree, but not understanding the new normal. And the reason for it, and I know I'm standing on one or two people's toes, but at the same time, if you look what's actually happening, as Hendrik said, in the blockchain technology, how many of us do understand the blockchain technology and working with leaders who can help us out to understand this? And what we are finding is companies who's in leadership and CEOs, they are not prepared to change the way they think. It's a companies that will be innovative with their leaders. And I'm going to go into 2 companies I deal with here in South Africa, and they're both big call center businesses. One has got a 2,000 seater and the other one's got a 600 seater. The CEO thought out the box and told his people, put the people at home and we'll run a virtual private network using technology going forward and increase their production. So instead of paying for rent, they paid the employees the profit bonuses of what they would have paid for rent to make business work. And this is what I see being a leader does by taking that initial step going forward and making business work. And I think this is where what we have to think of as parents as well. Are we prepared to move out of that zone to think differently. And that's basically all I want to say.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So you're saying that many of these organizations right now are not willing to change, and you don't see them being willing to move in that direction. It's very, very in line with exactly what Henrik was saying, which is that if that doesn't happen, then we're going to be challenged. So many of us here, as I was saying, are running our own organizations and are a part of innovation and are a part of growth in our own groups. So keeping in mind that some of these major corporations are not doing it or may not be willing to do it, how are we in our own organizations that we're endeavoring to grow, how are we ensuring that our thought process is outside of that box and that our thought process is innovative so that the people within our organization can begin to move forward in a better way? What are some of the things that you guys are doing?
Arlene, Anne Marie had her hand up first, and then Mark, because I know you can't see your whole screen.
Okay.
So
Anne Marie and then Mark.
and then Lisa.
I think we should be more like solution creators instead of problem creators, which a lot of the big companies would be doing more of because they don't want to actually be thinking outside the box. So the fact that they're actually just creating problems for themselves by not actually looking for a bigger and better solution to whatever they're actually doing. It's the same for ourselves. We need to be still thinking of better ways of how we can serve others and that as well. So it's like just being more open to open to like all the sort of solutions of coming together instead of like and then just sort of moving up along in a bigger group instead of actually just jumping right to the end. So like on having that sort of step by step, so that coming all together as a collective instead of just missing them steps, if you get me. That's all I sort of have.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. We have some comments in the chat. As we said, Vicky says there is no box. that is limits. So there are limits that people are placing on themselves. Lisa says visionary leaders ask, what box? Exactly. We also have Sophia. She says the link was at the Facebook group. Okay, great. So people should be able to see the link because it was on the Facebook group. Awesome. And someone else said certain professions will still require degrees, but most university programs today are useless. Doctors, nurses, social workers, police officers, etc., certified. And then Aaron said, a leader is to explain a foregone concept into simple terms so somebody can understand it on a simple term. Well, excellent, awesome. That can also be something that we call innovative, us taking the very complex concepts and making them more understandable for the masses, for the people within our groups. And then Aaron also said, thinking outside the box is having the capacity to expand and see what is possible instead of what is not possible. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. We agree. Okay, Mark, go ahead.
I totally agree with Anne Marie about having solution seekers instead of problem solvers. Your mentality is totally different. The biggest thing for me right now is, I'm mostly am around people at work mostly. And the biggest thing right now is just being positive and trying to build people up, trying to encourage people. Leaders for me are not only visionaries, but they're a dreamer. They walk their talk, inspire and motivate. and they lead by example.
Awesome, awesome. They lead by example, they walk the walk, and they talk the talk. Awesome. That makes perfect sense. Okay, Lisa, you had some.
Actually, just want to perhaps shift the stuff. We're talking very much here about leaders as being visionaries, but the most powerful leader is the one who encourages and backs the visionaries around him. You don't have to be a visionary to be an excellent leader. You have to be able to encourage your team to be visionaries and then support them to make that happen. So if you don't consider yourself a visionary, it doesn't mean you can't be a fantastic leader.
Okay, awesome. That leads me to the next question. Lisa said, you don't have to be the visionary yourself in order to be the leader. You need to be in support of the person who is the visionary. So we're talking about being innovative. We're talking about being a visionary. We're talking about thinking outside the box, like the Zuckerbergs and the Elon Musks who are creating a bus to the moon. So we're saying that in order, just by even being on this call, we're saying we're researching, we're looking at other ways of finding innovation. So my question to you is, if we're looking and researching innovation and we're researching new ideas, is that contrary to us actually being an innovator or thinking outside the box? Does it have to come directly from us? Or can we research it from somebody else and still be a visionary, like a Mark Zuckerberg or like a Elon Musk or Indra Nooyi?
Okay, Matthew had his hand up first.
Go ahead, Matthew. And then Ron.
I think inspiration comes from anywhere. So whether it's during our research process of whatever it is we're researching, or a piece of art we see, or the smile on your kid's face, whatever that is, you get the inspiration from somewhere. The question is, do you act on it? And that's where the innovation will come into play, is if you take action and then you find others that you can help you mold and create that idea. Now we're here creating leaders, so we want people to be following those dreams, those epic thoughts, those just solid visions that they have for themselves. So as long as we're in support of each of those visions, it'll help create the more leaders in that sense.
Awesome, awesome. I think key to what you said, Matthew, is taking the action. So many of us have those innovative ideas and concepts, they come to mind, but if we don't act on them, are we actually being an innovative leader or a visionary at all? So that's awesome. That's very insightful. Very insightful. Vicky says she totally agrees. Okay. I see Bintu and then Ron. Go ahead, Bintu. Great, somebody we haven't heard from.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch back on the subject of leadership. I think about NG as an example of creating leaders, because with NG, like for somebody like me, for example, when I first came into NG, I didn't even know myself a lot, I didn't know how to tap into my potential, but that playing the abandoned game, like when you come in, they tell you to take care of yourself first, and then you start to connect with others. That's where leadership comes in. I mean, if most companies will do what NG does to really teach their team members how to first connect with themselves first, then they will be able to build more relationships with other people. But the problem is so many people just don't know. A lot of people are lost and they need directions. And I think all of us here, for me anyway, that's why I appreciate NG so much, because that's why I'm here, and I'm just learning about how to connect with other people now. Teaching me examples and connecting with my own family. When I talk to my family in Africa, I try to teach them, because we are conditioned in a certain way. And so I try to tell them, no, the way you're thinking is not that way, it's this way. Don't punish yourself like that, because you are worthy. You're not that worthless. Don't say that. So we are all, I'm just, that's what I wanted to say.
That's awesome, Bintu. So that leads right to the next question. Because you're telling us exactly what you're doing. The innovative leadership that you're initiating is this concept of connection, which is also what NG is about, which is what not you, Matthew, but Matthew as well, and also Henrik said that we need to be more in terms of connection, and that's an innovative style of leadership. So the next question that is right in line with what you said is, what are your innovative styles that you're using? What are you doing to show your innovative style of leadership? Tell us what some of the things are that you guys are doing that we can glean from.
Arlene, Ron had his hand up from the
Yeah.
last question.
Yeah, Ron next.
Okay.
Gonna start with you.
Okay.
Ron.
Okay, Arlene, what I've done is, I don't know if any of you guys have really followed the S curve. Now, if you look at what an S curve is, if you start your business, you start going down, going up, and you start building up. Now life starts changing. The economy is starting to changing. Now you're going down again. So if you look at the people like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Steve Jobs, what they're basically doing, as soon as circumstances change, they will start changing the S curve. So then it starts going from the other way and going up and building their organization by following the trend, what people want. So what they're basically doing is, if you take Simon Sinek, what is your why? And you look at Samsung and you look at Apple. Samsung is selling a want where Apple sells a need, because if the new iPhone comes out, everybody stands in a queue to get the latest iPhone because it's more innovative, creating the need that people want. And that's what they basically do as a leader, to understand what people want in the industry, not what the company can give, but what consumers and the employees can get out of it. And this is where I see the great opportunity as leaders, understanding how to work with the S curve. And this is where a lot of us as leaders, we are not prepared to follow our way of thinking, moving out of our zone or your comfort zone to move up, because we're now stuck in a circle. And this is where I see the great opportunity. What is your next question? Where am I prepared to go now with a new normal? Where am I prepared to go now with the new financial situation we're going through? And this is where I say it's a great opportunity for us now to take it on, especially people that's sitting at home, working from home, and having an international database like Noble Goldman, sharing like-minded ideas going forward. And this is what I quite enjoy, is we all understand what everybody's needs are, is how to put it into place. Thanks, Arlene.
Okay, awesome, Ron. I hear what you're saying. You're saying now the part that's innovative and thinking outside of the box, in addition to what Binta said, which is the connection, and what Matthew and Henrik were saying, which is the connection. You're also saying that what we need to look at is the need. What exactly is the need of our clientele versus just the what, and what is it that we're trying to promote or trying to sell or trying to get people to be a part of. So that's awesome. One of the ways that you're being innovative is to begin to look at the need versus us going from the inside out and imposing upon people what we have. So somebody else, how are you going about doing something that's innovative? Oh, go ahead, Henrik.
Yeah, thank you. One of the things what I actually also mentioned on the Gold Star call this week was that creating the understanding that, for example, a salesperson has to sell, he has a certain amount of products he has to sell, and he has to find techniques to convince people to buy those specific products. It's the same thing if I would have a specific business or MSI that I'm trying to recruit people, then I need to get people passionate about something that I'm passionate about, but probably not their passion. So instead of trying to recruit people, I said the beautiful thing with NG is we partner up with people and we let people be passionate about what they want to be passionate about. And I've even told many of my free members that I don't care if you spend a single dollar in your whole life on NG or whatever I like. If I can give you one thing in life, that is to find your life purpose, what you're driven of, what will get you out of bed 4:30 in the morning like me every single morning. If you can find that burn, that desire, what you want to be doing, that can be totally different from what I would like to do or anybody else. And that is, in another way, creating a need for people that I'm not trying to push something specific to them. I'm giving them an option to open up their mind to finding what they want to be consuming, what they want to be passionate about, what they want to be doing, and just let go. Because in life is a circle, it's gonna be coming around anyways. So we anyways gonna be creating those win-win situations. Even if I'm gonna be passionate about dogs and everybody else will be passionate about cats, it doesn't matter. In the end, it's just gonna be a circle and it's gonna be coming around. So in that way, as I say, not pushing people, especially when it comes to NG, to anything specific. Let people open up their mind to be passionate about what they want to be passionate about. Thank you.
Thank you, Henrik. So Henrik is looking at it from a compassionate or passionate perspective. So not looking at just the products, not even just what Binta said as far as the connection, or what Ron said, which is the S-curve, looking at the needs versus the wants. But now another innovative tool that we're looking at is this concept of passion. If people are passionate about what we have to offer, then we don't even need to sell. There is no sale. It's merely about sharing the concept with them. And they're going to be inclined to ask us, well, what is it that you're doing? How can I be a part of it? Because they're so excited and passionate about what we're doing. So somebody else, share with us some innovative tool that you're using in order to get your organization moving forward.
Arlene, Rennie wants to ask a question.
Rennie, go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking about this gentleman, a new member on my team that I introduced to Mark Santos to to come to the new member class, and his passion is to empower the youth in the Black community, to rise them up, to teach them stuff that's not taught in school, to bring them up from poverty, to raise them up. And so he wants to basically generate income to be able to support this effort. And he said, I don't know where to start. Like, I'm just looking for ideas where to start. And Mark went through the whole platform thing and how NG could be a vehicle for that. And then, he went off, and he's part of my team, but we're not really connected. And I was telling him about the resources and how he could get started and all this. And then I couldn't sleep last night thinking about what can I do for him to help him with his cause, this worthy cause. And I was thinking I could start a mastermind and invite my connection, because your network is your net worth, and bring in some of the people that are in my influence that I know. I used to work at the university. I have connection in that university, and I know some of the people and this is like a very worthy cause to me. And I see that this gentleman, he was so passionate about it. And I thought, like, it's not even about selling. Like you said, it's not selling. You see this passion and you just want to help. And I could create a mastermind on that topic and bring other people into it who are not NG currently, and just kind of brainstorm how we help him get clarity on his goals, purpose, and also his milestone. You know, you have to be very specific, and then with that milestone, you could look into NG and the resources there is, and how you can, you know, I was thinking about the table, the formula. How do you make so much money, and what are you going to do with the money? Like, create a plan.
Right.
Kind of create a plan. What is your goal and the milestone, and how do we bring in all these people? And then he can create a mastermind where he can bring in all these young people that he wants to bring up and teach. But what I'm saying, I could start with that mastermind, you know, to get it started, bring the right people to get him started with the clarity and the goals and the milestone and the dollar amount, specifically what he needs. And then he can start a mastermind on his own and bring these young people in. And because I think NG is such a flexible platform, and look at this group right now. I'm just amazed at all the things everybody's saying, and I'm just agreeing, and I'm just saying, such a great platform that he could use this, you know, as a springboard to do what he wants. So rather than looking at our needs and NG, how do we create and make money for us? Now I was thinking, how do I help him get what he wants?
Okay.
You know.
I love what you had to say. Rini, I agree with you 100%. I want Tony to be next because you put your hand up, but I just want to share that what you said, Rini, was right in line with what Lisa was saying before, which is very powerful in terms of leadership. You don't have to necessarily be the visionary in order to be the leader. You can support that person who has the innovative idea, like you did with the gentleman who had the concept to start this nonprofit type organization where he's helping the less fortunate, but you supported and you came alongside and you opened up your Rolodex and you opened up your community to this concept to support it. So that's awesome. That's awesome. And that's what it's about. That's making the connection, like Binta said. That's not looking at just what the want is, which is what Ron said, but looking at what the need was and then meeting that need. And of course, the gentleman had the passion because that was really where his heart was. That's where he stood. And that's what Henrik was talking about, the passion. So you put all of those innovative concepts into what you were sharing. So that was really awesome. Thank you so much. And on the call here, on the chat, we had a few comments. And I know that Matthew said, oh, there's also innovative. Good business leaders create a vision. That was Ron and Dawn. Good business leaders create a vision, articulate the vision, passionately own the vision, and relentlessly drive it to completion, which is what you were doing. And also, Matthew said, meet people where they are. Awesome, awesome. Okay, Tony, go ahead, share with us.
Hello, I was just going to say, I'm glad that it's the case that there isn't this hard sell, because I've never been comfortable with sales. I mean, just the word bored me. But that was part of my problem, not a problem with people who was into it, but I just saw it as this harsh, cold thing. And so I thought it was a case of people selling things to people that they did or did not need. And it didn't matter as long as they make the sale. And I thought, oh, I couldn't have that. So I'm glad it's not about that we can do this on a level that's heartfelt rather than let's get a plan to get them to sell, to buy something, and then they can come and go if they want. Doesn't really matter. So I'm glad it's something, because I could never get on board with that kind of thing, you know. And there's a lot of trickery going on there with let's put people under pressure and then they might buy it because they might think they're missing out. I couldn't play that game. I could never do that. So I'm glad it's not about that. So now it's something I can, you know, sales is not a dirty word to me anymore. So, but even when it was, I thought, well, just go to it anyway. But I'd rather not. So now I know it's cleaned up. Oh, it always was clean. It's just other people infected it with a vicious, greedy way. So I'm very glad now it's something someone can get on board with naturally in a calm, natural way. rather than it being a forced thing. So that's what I wanted to throw out there, that it's all good. Thank you.
Awesome, Tony. Awesome. I love that you shared that. That was also one of the key. I've done sales for a long time, and one of the key tools that we use, ironically, is relationship. People can feel that connection. They can feel that genuine love or genuineness, authenticity that we have. And so it's awesome that this community is a community of people who truly have all of these innovations that we're using, the want, not the need, the heart, as Rini said, we're looking at the passion and meeting the needs of the people where they are. And Henrik, you wanted to share.
No, non Papa Prata. Yeah, actually, I just noticed my daughter was waving, so I thought, hey, I actually got a good idea. So just...
Yeah, let's share.
Yeah, closing up this hour, I want to share a funny story from yesterday. As we had our investment mastermind, and we're talking about weaknesses, because every single person has some kind of weakness. And when you can really, when you actually can admit and come forward with your weaknesses, then you can actually help, especially in our kind of community. When you can come up front and talk about your weaknesses, then other ones knows how they can help you go forward and keep you accountable. And if actually, I heard on the radio, I was driving my daughter, I also heard about the job interviews, that if a person can't say one single weakness they have, then they would never hire that person, because nobody is perfect. And if anybody comes with that kind of like ego, that they don't have any weaknesses, or they're too scared to post them, then they can't actually open up. So as closure for this, we were discussing our weaknesses and going through, and we actually have people in NG that has no attention of any team building. We have different things that we do together. And we have business owner that is really focused on getting things done. And we're talking about that he could be like our project manager and create like a 30-day quest about that. Because he said that he's really specific, that you have to act and you have to stay in the guidelines and everything. He gave an example of one guy that was hired on Saturday and got fired on Tuesday. So we actually started joking around that we could have like a 30-day quest, get it done in 30 days or you're fired. Just a funny side note to the end.
Okay, so we have only a couple of minutes left. Today we were talking about leadership as usual, but we were talking about it from a concept of thinking outside the box, being willing to break some of the rules, the traditional rules that are there, as opposed to just doing things status quo and the way that things have always been done. And we've come up with some innovative ways. I do a television show, and every week we are talking about innovative ways of moving forward, getting unstuck, things that we can do to empower ourselves and empower others. And I'm just so grateful that today, on this call, we were able to highlight and illuminate some great tools and techniques that people can go away with. Henrik said that one of the things we need to do as leaders is be willing to share our weaknesses. We don't always have to be the person on the top, but it's great to be vulnerable, and people can receive us. Sometimes when we share something that we're having a challenge with as a leader, they can connect, they can find some common ground with what they're being challenged by. We had Rini, who talked about empowerment. The leader empowers the people within her organization to move forward so that they can be able to we can be able to help them meet their needs. And one of the ways that we do that is by speaking to their passion, the person who we're working with within our group. And the passion was initially talked about by Ron. And then, of course, the connection. that we're building, which is Binta. Binta, thank you so much for sharing with us the importance of making a connection with the people that are within our organization so that we can move forward and have all of the parts within the organization move beautifully. And then Ron, we want to thank you as well, because in line with that is the concept of not just speaking to the wants, what we want the people to purchase, but speaking to the needs. Okay, and Tony, thank you, because that's what we're all about. We're all about the heartfelt passion. We're not about the hard sell. We're about meeting the needs of the people. And when one wins, we all win. So if we're sharing with somebody something that they need, they win and we win, because we have the joy that we were able to share with them the things that they really need. So we didn't hear from 2 people. If you guys want to share at this time, or if anybody else has anything else that they'd like to add as far as innovative tools and techniques that they're using now to work outside the box, I would love to have you share now, because we have about a minute left before we, oh, actually we're already at the time frame. But I want to give anybody an opportunity to share before we close out.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, Francis.
Hi. How are you?
From you. We'd love to hear from you.
I thought I would just jump in. I am busy packing up, about to leave out a hotel right now. So I left it on silent so you didn't have to watch me pack my bags. But I did so, but I'm so glad that I did still join in and got to listen in. There was so much, you know, like gold in this mastermind, and I'm so glad that I made it on. Everything I took away from, but there is also like just my contribution to this is gratitude, you know, like constantly being gratitude and leading with gratitude, I think is very important. You know, that you're taking time to reflect on, you know, what is going right, you know, because, you know, I'm sure everyone understands that there's so much that can go wrong in entrepreneurship that you can kind of be overwhelmed by all the wrongs, but there really is all the rights that's, you know, like you've got to acknowledge and be grateful for, because that is what keeps you on the right path to taking that next intuitive step. And I think that's really important. And also showing gratitude to just say thank you for, you know, whoever is working with you, that's, you know, on your team, helping to support you, be grateful for that.
Awesome. Excellent. Absolutely. Gratitude is an essential piece within the leadership arena that is certainly innovative. If you look at some of the paradigm of some of the older corporations, certainly gratitude was not a part, but today with our innovation and our thinking outside of the box, we're making sure that we're meeting the needs of others, but also speaking to them and telling them thank you and just being appreciative for them being a part of our organization. Because even like today, guys, I thank you because you could have been other places today with your time, but you chose to spend your time here with us. So we have a couple of other people who haven't shared anything. I want to give you an opportunity, Gary, Gideon, Mark, if you wanted to share anything at this time before we